So, welcome again, and I'm with a new concept, an important concept, and that is of stocks and flows. In national income accounting, it's very important to know when we are measuring if it's a stock or a flow. Stock is measured at a point of time, and when you're talking about a flow, it is over a period of time. So, when you're talking about a flow, it is over a period of time, and stock is at a point of time. So based on that, we have decided on some variables which are stocks and some which are variables which are flows. So I want you to just have a look, see the definition, and so several variables are classified into stocks and flows. So what is a stock? A stock is a quantity measurable at a point of time. Stock has no time dimension, that is the length of time. They indicate the quantity of variable at a point of time. For example, if you say stock is capital is a stock, uh, let's take an example of capital. It's a stock. Like for example, if you're talking about a bank balance of yours at a certain date, then that is a stock. So talking about flow variables, a flow is a quantity measurable over a period of time. Thus, flows are measured with reference to a certain time period, say per day, per month, per annum, whatever. So it has a time dimension. For example, national income, because it's measured over a period of 1 year, one fiscal year, then it is what is known as a flow variable. So when you're talking about anything which has a time dimension, which are measuring over a period of time, that becomes what is known as a stock. That becomes a flow variable. So you can take, like for example, investment. That is, if you're talking about capital, then it's a stock. But if you're talking about capital formation, that is investment, then that is definitely a flow variable. So based on this, you can just have a look as how can we, sometimes you're asked to distinguish on the basis of certain things, like for example, what is a meaning? On the basis of meaning, if you take stock relates to a point of time and flow relates to the period of time. If you take the time dimension aspect, then stock does not have a time dimension, and in flow there is a time dimension. And if you're talking about the effect, stock influences flow. For example, if there's a larger the stock of capital, more will be the flow of goods and services. And let's take the flow. Again, flow influences stock. For example, if there is an monthly increase in income of a household, then what will it lead to? It will lead to growth and wealth of that particular household, or of that particular nation. If you take it nation-wise, yes, if our national income grows, surely there will be growth of wealth of a nation. So if you take examples, then you can take capital, wealth, supply of money, and in this you can talk about in flow. You can take in the flow variable, you can take examples of income, expenditure, investment. So if I ask a question, their total number of cars running on roads, if the total number of cars which are there, so that is stock. But if I talk about production of cars, then that is a flow, because that has a time dimension. So if I talk about distance of any two locations, for example, that is a stock. But if I talk about speed of vehicles covering the distance, and in that too, if I take different vehicles, all of that will be flows. So if I talk about bank deposits, again that's a stock. But if I talk about interest on the deposits, then that becomes flow. So if I talk about the machinery in a factory, that is a stock, but if I talk about depreciation, that becomes flows. So these are the stocks and flows, and normally you get a question as to asking you based on examples. You should be able to answer them. For example, as if somebody says capital formation, what is it? Is it a stock or a flow? Then you'll say flow because it's measured over a period of time. But if we had, so you have to give a reason for that, and the reason is nothing but the definition of the concept. Just remember.